Managing multiple clients or large websites? Automate your SEO with Ali AI. Start your free trial now.
Taylor Swift is a link builder. There were rumors that she would get engaged. Our client said, let's give them a free wedding venue. And then we got them 50 links. That's digital PR.
Wix Studio, one end-to-end web creation platform for your agency to deliver exceptional work with absolute efficiency.
Hi everybody, thanks John. So I just pour some water and away we go. So yeah, as John said, Darren, work for Zitcher, and we power retail media networks across the globe, such as Ocado, Coles Group in Australia, and a whole heap more from the US all the way down to Oz. So I'm going to cover three things today. What is retail media? How to set up a retail media network, and then as John said, I'm going to take you through some real life examples in various different ways. And then there won't be time for questions at the end apparently, but you can grab me anyway. So what is retail media? The truth is, it's actually been around for a long, long, long time, but just not called retail media. Some great examples: Tesco's, in-store, promotional posters, the same for Sainsbury's. I'm sure we've all been around supermarkets where they do sampling, there's lovely in-store radio promotions. So it's actually been around from an in-store point of view for a long way. I'm sure when you're walking down the aisles at the kind of like Tesco's and Sainsbury's or wherever you shop, you see the wobblers. I love those, the end of our promotions. So we're all very used to seeing in-store retail media. From a different point of view, we actually probably in the mid-90s, we had the .com explosion. And this is Argos actually. So this was their first ever e-com store. This was actually live before Google, before Facebook, before everything. Are there many people in the room that can remember this? I'm probably showing my age a little bit. I definitely can, which is quite sad. But we had the whole .com boom. And actually, this was the first UK marketplace, boo.com. I don't know if anybody remembers this. But obviously when the .com bubble burst in, I think around 2000, like 99, 2000, boo.com didn't make it, but obviously Argos did. And then sort of post-2000, confidence grew again with the whole online marketplace, and it started to evolve as to what it is now. So, does anybody remember when Facebook looked like this? This was before it was on mobile. I'm definitely showing my age now. Anyone? Yes, thank you. You know, the struggle was real back then. So it wasn't on mobile. You had to rush home and then check your desktop to see if anyone's poked you. Bit of a weird experience, but probably wouldn't get away with that now. But yeah, that was actually my first ever profile pic. Can anybody recognize the person that I'm standing with? Bonus point? Yes, brilliant, well done. So that was my first ever profile pic. Luckily, I've evolved, Facebook's evolved, everything's evolved since then. And today, we're at a point where brands own their own Facebook channels, Instagram handles, all the different social channels, TikTok, everything. And we've got a really sophisticated online way of purchasing things. And we've also, obviously, since 2000, we've seen the explosion of, obviously, the social channels, marketplaces, Amazon, eBay. Everything now is centered around the online experience. So everything's kind of existed in silos. So what retail media does, it kind of brings everything kind of into one realm. So it's taking all the different aspects of retail and bring it under one shelf. So the first part is on-site. So on-site is really simply, when you go onto Tesco.com and you're doing your weekly shop and you type in Cocoa Pops. And then all of a sudden you've got sponsored product ads for Cocoa Pops. You might have Cheerios and various other people bidding on that keyword. So similar to Google, but within the Tesco realm. And then obviously in-app as well. So this is what we call on-site. Off-site. So this is where Tesco obviously have their own Facebook handle, Instagram handle, and this is getting access to the retailer's online audience outside of their own website. And then in-store. So retail media is literally bringing the old media and the new media all under one hat. So these are the three key pillars that make a retail media network. And this ties together for a really exciting, connected journey for the consumer. From seeing an ad sitting at home watching TV, to going out and walking your dog and then seeing a billboard or a banner or a digital screen somewhere, all the way through to them researching, and then obviously moving into the store to the point of purchase. So you can start the journey at home, like I said, you see an advert for Dove, and that can actually connect, you can actually see that ad and that brand in a connected journey, hopefully all the way to purchase. So why does this matter? There's three different elements to this. First of all, from a retailer's point of view. So retail, and this isn't just grocers, this is everything. I'm sure we've all seen kind of the impact on the high street. Retailers, it's a very competitive marketplace. Margins are getting squeezed, so retailers can, through a retail media network, create a high margin revenue stream with margins, up to 90%. So it's a new revenue stream and a high margin opportunity for retailers. Brands. So brands, what we're seeing across retailers that are using our platform is up to a 7 times ROAS on the investment that they're making. So it's a really powerful opportunity for brands to connect with consumers and obviously push them into a point of purchase. And I'll talk more about how this works in a little bit. And then finally, the customers. So from a consumer journey, if everything is tied under one kind of roof, you can actually create a much nicer customer experience, consistent messaging, creative, improved offers, convenience, discounts. So from a consumer point of view, retail media can actually help tie all that together to create a nicer experience for us, which is nice. So what this has actually caused is a huge growth. In the UK, it's a massive, I think it's the fastest growing pure paid digital channel in the UK. How do we know this? From my point of view, I come from a paid media background. In the last 2 or 3 years, we've really started to see the big holdco agencies, the WPPs, the Omnicoms, have all moved into this space now. It's a whole new revenue stream. And that's always a really significant sign that this is a big opportunity and one that's here to stay. Publicis, for example, they've actually bought an ad server called Citrus. They bought a data company called Epsilon, and they bought a shopper marketing agency called Mars Commerce, and they're actually tying it up to build a complete ecosystem for their clients. So this is a really significant trend, and we're seeing the other agencies do it as well. OMG bought Flywheel for, I think, billions. So there's a lot of opportunity and a lot of promise with this part. But it's also a global trend as well. So we're going to see over 20% of ad spend going into retail, digital ad spend going into retail media. So this isn't just here, it's everywhere. And when I talk about the examples later on, you'll see some global examples as well. Some are really cool. So why is it growing? There's 6 key factors as to why it's growing. With COVID, we saw a big shift into e-commerce. Obviously, less people going into stores, which really kind of accelerated that e-commerce growth. The next 2, the post-cookie digital media era and the powerful first-party data, these are kind of quite closely related. Obviously, with Google, will they, won't they deprecate the cookie? That kind of saga rolled on for quite a long time. As it stands, I don't think they are. But what this kind of did was force advertisers and brands to look for other data sources to power their advertising. As it turns out, retailers are sitting on the most amazing first-party data. What people are buying, where they're buying it, how often they're buying it, what brands they're buying it, and you can actually build very, very robust audiences based on, my weekly shop at Tesco's. So this kind of accelerated the loop. The other exciting part about retail media is the closed loop attribution that this entails. So obviously it's a walled garden, Tesco's all owned and operated, all within there. So you can actually really get quite robust measurement behind it as well. And then what we're seeing now is new tools and technologies coming into play to help drive this growth and accelerate the growth in this space. So retail media can also help unlock full funnel campaigns. Obviously with that closed loop measurement and that point of purchase data, it often gets bucketed with the lower end of the funnel. But through the offsite and through, you can actually get quite a lot of awareness as well, and you can really feed the top end of the funnel. If you think back to that consumer, that connected journey slides, there are certain channels and certain ways of really kind of getting under the skin of the awareness and the consideration part, and then pushing them through to conversion. So, I've sold the dream. Sounds easy? It's not. I'm now going to talk to you about how easy it is or not, or how complicated it can be to set up a retail media network. The truth is, like any digital ecosystem, it's complex. There's lots of players. I'm sure everyone's seen a Lumascape before. The retail media ecosystem is no different. But there are certain things you can do to make this process a lot easier. I'm just going to give you a little bit of a glimpse of, from a retailer's perspective, what this kind of entails. So the first part, as I've spoken about, is the powerful first-party data. There are several elements to this that a retailer has to get a grasp of. The first is their e-com behavior and the sales. Then there's the offline sales, and then there's the customer data as well. You know, if you think about the loyalty programs at Tesco's with Club Cards, Sainsbury's with Nectar, and so on and so forth, the data that they have in terms of location and the buying data, you can actually, once this all gets sorted together, it's very powerful, like I said, but that's not an easy task. Then you have the platform, right? So, you know, what's this all going to feed into? This is the retail media platform that kind of sits in the middle and hopefully brings this all together. And that's where we have the sponsored products, the display, and the offsite as well. So the on-site, off-site, and in-store activation piece. Then we've got the supplier relationships. So all the retailers and the grocers will have existing relationships with the Nestle's, the Adidas's, and so on and so forth, where they'll have year-long commitments, and they'll have supplier relationships, and they'll have joint business plans that they'll have to adhere to. So it's really important that this gets recognized within the retail media platform as well, to make sure they're being delivered, to make sure the inventory is being used, and to identify areas where inventory is not being used that they can then be resold to maximize the yield. And then you've got the team. So there's various different teams within the retailer that contribute to this. So we've got here, we're talking about, you know, the in-house team, the external team, you've got the tech partners. So it's very fragmented. This fragmentation is quite a key theme across the whole ecosystem. So within the retailers, traditional retailers, they can be quite fragmented. You've got trade marketing teams, you've got brand teams, you've got e-com teams, you've got social teams. Brands are the same, so the Nestle's and the Unilevers and so on and so forth will have a similar setup. But then also on the tech side, like I showed you, that area is fragmented. As you know, the digital bigger cousin, you know, we're seeing a real big trend of consolidation at the moment. This is something that the retail media kind of ecosystem will start to go through as well to make the process a lot easier. So our advice from a Zitcher point of view is a crawl, walk, run approach. So retail media 1.0 we call the first stage, and that's just getting the basics right. So internal team structure is critical. Getting your on-site and your on-site video, that's kind of the table stakes to get started. Then as we move through the gears, it gets more complex. Finally finishing off with full attribution and measurement, you know, electronic JBPs that are integrated into the retail media platform, and the omni-channel proposition, and everything's kind of all integrated in a one-stop shop. So that's the holy grail. So I'm going to talk a little bit now about some examples in real life. And I'm sorry, I'm on a WhatsApp group with a lot of other speakers, and there was a lot of talk about people using lots of GIFs. So I felt like I had to get one in there. And as I'm going to do an American example, this is one of my favorites because it is so American. So Walmart. So Walmart is probably globally one of the top 2 or 3 gold stars in terms of retail media. So they have built over the years a really sophisticated, robust retail media network. And all those things that I was talking about around fragmentation, challenges internally, they've absolutely nailed spot on. So there's 5 elements to their platform. The first, like I said, getting the on-site and the basics right, so the sponsored search. The second, again, on-site display. So these are kind of the, look after your own. And then connected TV. This is super interesting, right? So earlier this year, I think in February, they bought a company in the US called Vizio for $2.3 billion, which is mental. So Vizio is a connected TV ad tech vendor. And essentially what they're doing now, they're understanding that full connected journey, and they've bought this, so they own and operate their own connected TV network, so they can tie together all their customer data into the connected TV. So this is where retail and media really kind of come together. So they've moved into that more traditional ad tech and media space by buying an ad tech platform. So that was a really significant move, and one of the first of its kinds within kind of the retail media landscape. Brand shop and shelf. So what you can also do through the Walmart online is they've got microsites for brands, basically. So Unilever's and so on and so forth have their own sort of mini sites within the Walmart sites. And then finally, in-store. And this is everything from, again, screens, wobblers, the digital and the offline stuff as well. So this is all connected together under one platform, which allows really connected closed loop measurement. So Walmart, obviously one of the gold stars, but you've also got Costco, Albertson, Kroger, all doing this really well across the US, and they have literally their own teams and it's almost like a separate business unit servicing themselves. But the UK is catching up, and we are one of the most sophisticated markets behind the US in this space. So Tesco's is probably the top left. It's probably one of the most advanced. Recently, we've seen Very Group, we've seen Ocado, but yeah, you can see there's lots of they're popping up all the time now. So I'm going to talk through a couple of the UK examples to give a bit of context, right? So first of all, Tesco's. So probably the most established retail media platform. This is powered by dunnhumby. They've got a relationship that's been going back sort of 20, 30 years. So retail media is not new. So it started off very much with that kind of loyalty data and in-store stuff. So they're and similar to Walmart, they've got their own technology. They've bought a couple of ad tech companies along the way to help build their own internal stack. And they're constantly growing their network, and they're acting like a media owner. This is something that's really important for the retailers to kind of consider. It's a whole new mindset for them. So it's almost like Tesco is the new Yahoo or the new Microsoft. So it's quite a lot to kind of get your head around. And probably the newest kid on the block actually in the UK, and this was announced a couple of weeks ago, is Ocado. Now, Ocado is a really interesting one. Obviously online only, very innovative, and always been kind of at the forefront of that online grocery play. And their approach to the retail media network was actually starting with the why. So why do we need to do this, and what is the challenge? And for them, the challenge was all around how can we make sure that our current suppliers are utilizing their joint business plans, and then they built backwards from that big why. So they took it at a totally different approach, very innovative. So they're really trying to solve internal challenges by bringing together everything through the retail media network, which is super exciting. That's a lot of pink. So this is actually a client of ours in New Zealand, and we power their on-site, off-site, and in-store. So this was a really exciting example, and this was actually last week. What is amazing about this? So this is celebrating Barbie's 65th birthday. So it's a company called The Warehouse, which is part of the Market Maker retail media network. So they're New Zealand's biggest. They're almost like a Walmart of New Zealand, basically. What is amazing about this is they nailed the in-store execution. So you can see all the Barbie stuff, the screens, the kind of the experiential stuff. They did the on-site, so they completely reskinned their e-com site. They did social. But what is amazing, they went all out and they wrapped the store in pink, which is amazing. So this is just such a great example of a complete unified retail media platform. So I'm just going to this is the second last slide. So I've talked a lot about Tesco's, I've talked a lot about retail, and I've talked a lot about grocery. So retail media doesn't necessarily have to just be grocers and retailers and fashion and apparel. What we're now seeing is a huge trend of other verticals that are doing this. So on the left, you can see finance. So Chase Media Solutions, Western Union, and PayPal. They've all launched their own retail media network. Why? Data. They have brilliant data. They have online assets, and it is something that they can monetize as a new revenue stream. The second is travel. So travel is a really exciting space. I sat on a flight, EasyJet flight, and shock horror, we were delayed by 2 hours and we had to sit on the plane for 2 hours. And I had to stare at a static picture of Kylie Jenner for 2 hours, which that's not my bag. If it's yours, that's all cool, but not for me. But it got me thinking that if this was a screen, they know who I am, they know my age, they know my demographic, they know kind of how often I fly, all that sort of stuff, where I'm going. That could have been a much nicer experience for me, sat there for 2 hours on the tarmac. But that kind of got me thinking. And then in the US, the United Airlines have actually launched their own retail media network. So they have a whole almost programmatic screen system in their seats. If you think about all the data that they have, all the assets they have, the tickets, the magazines, there's a whole network there for travel. And we've even seen hotels and Expedia Media Group as well. So finally, 3 big takeaways to finish off with. First of all, retail media is not new. We've kind of established that it's been around many, many, many years. It's just that it's all kind of been umbrellaed onto one platform and one use case. The crawl, walk, run approach, this is really important, getting the basics right and then going from there once you've got the foundations. And this can be applied to almost any kind of business, really. You've got to get the basics right. And finally, it is everywhere. That last slide before this shows you that, it can be on the high street, it can be going on holiday, it can be sorting out your banking and financing. So that's it. So thank you guys. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Monthly reporting making you want to shove sharp things up your nose? Try Dragon Metrics, the all-in-one SEO software with mind-blowing reporting tools.